Welcome, everyone, to the No Vision Internet Radio Show for March the 5th, 2022. We're very March. Dang, it's going fast. Well, today we have the pleasure of having Mr. Jesus Donacio, and sorry about that, and Mr. Jesus Bautista. We have two Jesus. Folks, if you, in the next half an hour, if you guys do a sin in front of these two Jesus, you guys are in trouble. I'm telling you that. Anyways, how you doing, Mr. Bautista and Mr. Donacio?
I'm doing great, man, and I'm really glad that Mr. Donacio was able to come and join us, and it'd be a great interview.
I'm doing great. Thank you.
Even the dog in the background is happy. So
yeah.
so today we're going to talk to Mr. Donacio about services that are available for individuals 55 and older through the TWC vocational rehab, and that are visually impaired. Because folks, you really need to hear this information, because sometimes me and Mr. Bautista will come across individuals that their mom, themselves, their spouse, or whoever is like, you know what, I don't know what to do. You know, they just became blind to, diabetes or whatever. And I think these kind of discussions are important. So, Mr. Donacio, just to kind of give an overview for people, are you from El Paso?
I'm originally from Minnesota. I'm from Minnesota, but I moved down here to El Paso. I've been here since 1995, so I'm acclimated to the weather. So the AC's on right now. It's 65, so yeah, the AC's on. I think if I go to Minnesota right now, I'm gonna freeze to death. So I'm used to El Paso. El Paso's my home now. So yeah, for sure.
So what? Let me ask you this, Mr. Donacio. What brought you into this kind of field of, providing services for individuals with disabilities? What was the trigger? There's something your personal thing, or was it?
Yeah. So my wife is visually impaired. She was a client of the vocational rehabilitation program through the blind visually impaired. She had a counselor, and I really, at the time when my wife and I were together, newly married, we really didn't understand her visual impairment. We went through tons of doctors everywhere. I mean, we went even across the bridge to Juarez to try to get some services. We went, from a husband point of view, family member point of view. I got to see her through all the phases of adjustment to her visual impairment, to blindness. So that's what got me into this field. I've been with the agency now going on 6 years, I believe, with the independent living program. So that's what definitely brought me here.
And what,
Mr. Donacio, just to kind of give people an idea of the services that you provide, but how far you have to go to provide the services. Can you give us an idea as to what areas you cover?
Yeah, so I'm based here in El Paso. It's called the Older Individuals with Blindness Program. I cover an area about the size of South Carolina, basically. I go as far as Odessa, and I'll go through Pecos, Odessa, and then go as far south as the Big Bend area, Marfa, all that area. This region that we're in, it's a large area, a lot of small towns. Like they say, when you're driving by and you sneeze, you pass by the town, and you probably wouldn't realize. But it's a large area geographically. So for my program, George, like I was letting everyone know, is that you have to be over the age of 55. You have to be blind or visually impaired. You have to reside, of course, here in Texas. And then you also have to need the program, because there's a lot of people that are blind or visually impaired and meet that criteria. But some of them have already gone through the training. Some of them either through our agency or other states. They have to be willing and able to participate in the program, basically.
And I think what happens a lot of times for those who are watching and listening is Mr. Donacio, I'm more sure you have to see this, or what I'm about to say, is that we, persons that need services, it's not what we want, it's what we need. For example, Mr. Donacio, I need a computer. Okay. Or I want a computer. Well, I want it with this. I want it with this. Okay, but what do you need? And I think that's what we need to emphasize during this conversation is what we need to be independent, either by white cane or hearing aids or whatever. So what's the starting process like? If someone wants to apply, what's the
Sure.
first step?
So there's a lot of ways. What I rely is on a strong network here in El Paso, whether through its El Paso Council through the Blind, Mr. Bautista, his connections, either a low vision doctor. A lot of the doctors here know who I am. But the process is, let's just say you want to contact me, or people know who I am and they contact me. We do an application. The first step is doing an application. Once I gather the application, get the person's information, we basically move either to eligibility. So I need to determine what is your visual impairment, medical records, eye exams. Let's just say you haven't been to an eye doctor. So I'll go ahead and refer you to go see one. And we rely on Dr. Coplis with Advanced Vision Solutions. She's our only low vision doctor that's linked up with our agency. So I'll refer her there. A lot of you know who she is. She has many years with serving the blind, visually impaired community. So I rely a lot on her expertise. She does a thorough assessment. If she captures and it's able to see that this person has a visual impairment and the devices she tested on the client with glasses or magnifiers, and they meet eligibility, visual impairment 20/70 or worse, or legally blind 20/200 on both eyes. What we do is go ahead and develop a plan. So a good example, let's just say, I'll use Mr. Bautista as an example. Let's just say we went through the application eligibility. He went to see Dr. Coplis, and he needs glasses, he needs magnifiers, or that didn't work, and he needs scanners, technology. And he agrees that helped him. And then, I'm sorry, my dog. I have a dog, and it's a
okay.
It's a 1 pound Chihuahua, and she's the guard dog. So
we have a 6.5 pound terror ourselves. So
yeah, she's better than the security
aware.
alarm. But basically, what happens is once Mr. Bautista, we develop a plan, and let's just say he loved the devices. That energy and items are beneficial to him. And I'm just touching the whole application process basically, but there's an array of services we could provide. Orientation mobility, which is the white cane. We also provide diabetes education training. We provide assistive technology training. And we also do provide hearing aids, but you have to be visually impaired. In other words, a lot of people call me and they want hearing aids. No, in order to qualify for hearing aids, you have to be visually impaired. And then we go ahead and send you for a hearing loss exam.
And also, don't forget your home living skills.
Oh, yeah. So that's the bread and butter of our program. It's independent living skills and training, and it's go into your home. Let's just say Mr. Bautista struggling to cook, struggling to reheat his food. Another example, medication management. Some people aren't aware of the script talk, and they just rely on touch and senses. Mm-hmm. We go out there and we do a lot of training in home. And basically our program is free as long as you are a Medicare, Medicaid recipient. If you do receive pension, we do have to go what's called a basic BLR, basic living requirements. We have to go. We basically do an application in the system, but this program is a great program. I cannot stress to people enough. This program has come a long way since I first started. I started here, I want to say 2015. When we started, we had a budget of like $45,000. Right now, we have a pretty good budget, but we're allowed to provide a lot more services that people really need.
So let's say someone that doesn't have Medicare or Medicare, mm-hmm. Is there an option for them to participate?
Yes, they can apply. We can apply, and if they receive like a pension or retirement, we have to input those numbers in the system, and it does like an analysis. It breaks it down to see if they would qualify. Let's just say somebody has a great retirement system or a great retirement benefit, or veterans, and they receive too much income. Well, not too much, but in order to qualify, they are allowed to participate, but there would be a cost to them. And it's not a lot of cost that they would have to pay for certain. Okay. Like for example, low vision glasses, they might have to pay a portion of those low vision glasses or magnifiers or devices. Yeah.
And they're expensive. The equipment.
Oh yeah,
is expensive. Yeah. So,
even a magnifier. Yeah, of course.
For example, just like let's say glasses. What would be like the average, just so someone can know? Like,
so a low vision exam costs you about between $275 to $300 more or less. That's just the low vision exam flat rate. low vision glasses, depending on the strength and the type of bifocal or the type of lens that they use, those could cost you. I've seen some cost from $200 all the way up to close to like $500, which is a lot of money. A lot of money for some people. What I've seen work best, especially with a lot of visual impairments, is a combination of glasses and magnifiers. Yes. Magnifiers, some handheld ones cost $70, $50. The really nice light up ruby magnifiers, the video magnifiers that we call them, or the large CCTVs, those cost anywhere about, probably about $500 all the way up to $3,000, $4,000. We provide those a lot to a lot of people at really no cost. The only thing that we do ask as far as a state agency is that if we get those devices and they don't like them, they don't need them, God forbid something happens to them, just to let me know, we could pick them up and provide them to somebody else in the future, of course.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And I think it's very important for those who are listening that are newly, quote unquote, blind or newly disabled, that to understand that your world doesn't come to an end. In other words, I'm blind and I've seen this many of times, unfortunately. And the reason I laugh is because it's funny. What I mean by that is they don't understand that the world is not closed to them. It's still, but what Mr. Donacio can offer you or anyone that you love and know is those tools. And what I mean by tools is a cane, a simple cane, make you more mobile. Cooking skills. So you don't have to cook. You don't have to be like, I can't eat today because I can't. I'm not gonna lie to you, Mr. Donacio. I can't cook. It's not because I'm visually impaired. I just don't know how to cook.
He's the only person that I know that burns water. So
I tell people, if you let me cook, I'm gonna either do one or three things: either burn myself, burn the food, or burn the house. Those are your choice. What you guys say, Mr. Bautista?
Yeah. No, the thing is, George. One of the things that I wanted Mr. Donacio to come over to the show is because it's not about just our relatives or our uncles, and it's about people that you meet in the streets, people that like. I recommended this one gentleman. I don't even know who he is, but my caretaker told me that this guy was having difficulty seeing and all that, and he's an older gentleman. I said, well, here's the address. Call Mr. Donacio, and Lord, and behold, he got some assistance from him. But see, that's what I'm saying. It's about helping other people, and that's why I do it, because I want to help others. When I went totally blind, I didn't panic. I didn't go into my bedroom and cry. I'd been to the blind school. I've been around people who are blind, and I knew I could handle it.
Yeah. I think. Go ahead, Mr.
Oh, I'm sorry. And sorry, George. And both of you hit it right on the nail. I mean, especially right now with the situation that we're all in with the pandemic, there's more and more people isolated. A lot of my clients, a lot of people that are in my program, they couldn't have those home care providers or family visit as often. So our program we really focused on increasing those services. We adapted basically. If I had to do either remote training, or I had clients that I would meet them at the door and train while I'm at the door. And now we are allowed to go into their home. So we there's safeguards in place. There's definitely a lot of safeguards in place.
But let me transition this real fast, Mr. Donacio. What you just said is that if you notice what Mr. Donacio said during the pandemic, he had to do video. So that kind of translate for us. What I mean by that is when you become blind or you are blind, you have to adapt. Like Mr. Donacio, we have to adapt to your living situation, how you cook, how you do that. And don't be afraid to ask, like Mr. Bautista says, ask someone. If you see a fellow person that's visually impaired, walk up to him. Hey, how did you do that? Or how can I get services? Because I've seen this a lot, Mr. Donacio and Mr. Bautista, I bet you both agree, is there's resources that people don't know. They go on for a while and like, why are you doing it this way? Why don't you do that? Well, I didn't know. Or why don't you call TWC? They'll help you. Well, I didn't know. And that's the thing that's important in this kind of discussion. Definitely. We have it.
Definitely. And something about this program, Mr. George, is that there's 16 of us statewide. As far as me, it's called OIB, Older Individuals with Blindness. There's 16 of us. There's a phone number, there's a hotline, and I'm going to share that phone number. If anybody, if you know somebody that's watching this and they live in Houston, or they live in Dallas, or they live in Lubbock, there's a hotline. So it's our OIB. It's a 512 number. It's area code 512-936-338. and you call that number, somebody answers, and you could just tell them, look, a good example. I have my aunt, she's visually impaired. She lives in Dallas. She might need some help. And what that number will do, they'll send that person's information directly to that worker in Dallas. That's something that we move forward with as far as TWC. It's our OAB hotline.
Can you repeat
and it's
the number
very
one more time?
Yes, it's of course, area code 512-936-3388. And again, I stress people, if you know family, friends, somebody, across the state, as long as they reside in Texas, give that number a call. They have to be just over 55 years of age, blind or visually impaired, and need help, basically.
Mr. Donacio, while you're on that subject, like I have a daughter, I have a sister-in-law in New Mexico. The services in New Mexico don't appear to be the same as in those here in Texas. Now, is it a difference of budget, or are they not? Do they not have that service?
They do have this. Every state should have an independent living program. I could proudly say that maybe our independent living program has probably more staff. We learned this not too long ago in a meeting that, other states don't have as much staff as we do. I've had this happen with New Mexico, and believe it or not, like I shared before this interview, is that I lived in Santa Fe for a while. I don't know. I have clients from New Mexico, from Las Cruces, which is 20, 30 minutes from here, that say, hey, I'm having a difficult time. If that person resides in Texas, we're able to help. I really don't know what New Mexico situation. It could be a lot of factors, maybe lack of staff. Not that many people do what we do. Not that many people know that this program, independent living skills, it requires a set of skills to learn and teach people that are blind, visually impaired. Yeah. Even myself, like I shared, my wife's visually impaired. I didn't know what she was going to until I went to Chris Cole, school for rehabilitation in Austin. I went through the whole blindfold for 4 weeks and all the training and everything, learning Braille, learning technology. And my God, I the first week I panicked. I mean, I was sweating, with fear and anxiety. But after that, with all the training that I received, it really helped out a lot. What we do to adapt and learn to teach.
Let's say, I'm glad you asked that question, Mr. Bautista, because for those who aren't watching, that may be watching in Pennsylvania or New York, because I want to distribute this video. So universally, is it living skills the same in all states regarding what type of services, or it might differ?
It might differ. It might differ in different states. It might differ, yes. Because for example, like I know, like with Texas, we do pay for low vision exams and glasses and magnifiers. I know, like for example, in other states, they do not. So that's. It just depends how the program is set up in every different state.
Yeah, because Mr. Donacio, when I was first going through college, the services in New Mexico that they provided, for my education, were far less and different than the services that Texas offers. Yeah. I mean, when I came to Texas, I was amazed at the technology and the services that they provide. In contrast to New Mexico, but not to blame New Mexico, but because New Mexico may be a poorer state and they may not have the funding, but other states, I was hoping that all the other states have the same program, or at least a program similar to ours.
Yeah, and if you just put like independent living program, Massachusetts, independent program Florida, usually you have to put blind or visually impaired independent living program, and it should direct you as long as you put that state's number. But it's unfortunate to hear, that other states are not providing as good of services as Texas. It really is.
But your experience working with individuals, there's two parts to this question. I hope they kind of correlate. But the first one is, what do you see the biggest need? And so the second part is, why is there such a lack of resources, or not resources, outreach? Not by you, but I'm saying within our community, like letting other people know that this is available.
And I think that what's a lack of need? I would love for be more staff, with independent living, with this program, older individuals with blindness. I know there's 16 of us. Like I said, I know other states have less staff, but it'd be great to have more staff. that would be a great ideal. Funding, our upper management is great with creating ways for us and really resourceful, crafty ways to get us funding. So I don't think that's much of an issue as far as funding, but I think for sure, you mentioned outreach. What happens is also, we used to be DARS, which was Department of Assistive Rehabilitative Services. We transitioned over to TWC. Even before that, we used to be Texas Commission for the Blind.
Yeah.
So that does happen a lot. Moving of offices and stuff like that. But I don't know. I really don't know why people don't know of this program.
The reason I'm asking you, Mr. Donacio, is not to put you on the spot, but this is the same question me and Mr. Bautista have. Like, we run across someone, and we're like, we tell them about whatever it is, like your program or whatever. And they're like, really? And I'm like, really? You didn't know that? Or like for their child? And I'm like, wow. And it's just amazing.
And what I see a growing trend here in El Paso is like, let's just say I'm 65 and I go see my doctor and they find out I have glaucoma or macular degeneration or a visual impairment. They automatically try to treat that ailment, either to treatment, injections, or whatever. But they forget to make that referral. And as much as we try to make that important to doctors and do outreach, that does happen. I think also what happens is, there's more and more younger people now with visual impairments than back then. People are living longer. They're experiencing a lot of different changes with their vision now. So I think we're seeing a growing trend. Back then, I could honestly say when I was starting this program in 2015, my average age was about maybe 78, 80 years old. Now I'm getting a lot of younger people, 55, 57. Really? Yeah, I'm getting a lot of people. Mm-hmm.
Wow, that tells you about our living style, I guess.
And part of it is that you're getting more because more people are becoming more aware of it, of the program. The problem is that the older generation, like in my age bracket, a lot of us don't think, well, I'm on my way down, so I don't need any services because what good is it going to do me? I'm not employed. I'm not, I'm not going to be.
And it could be a culture thing. It could be a culture, pride. Of course, definitely, definitely.
It's funny you mention that because I recently did thank God I want to edit this on the audio portion. But anyways, I recently talked to, I did a podcast with someone from Kentucky, and she has her own YouTube channel, and we talk about what you just said about the machismo, the culture that and like when I first started losing my vision where I couldn't independently walk, I had to use a cane. I'm not gonna lie to you, and I'm embarrassed to say it now, but back then I was embarrassed to take the cane out, and I'm like, I take it out, and I'm like, man, hurry up, so I can put it away. But yet, I think the problem was I wasn't accepting my vision loss.
And that's the biggest obstacle is acceptance, and especially El Paso, strong Hispanic community. A lot of family. I get a lot of pushback sometimes from family. They're like, "No, I don't want my mom to cook. She's blind or she's visually impaired. I don't want her to burn herself or hurt herself." And Mr. Bautista could explain. We go in there and we go at a pace that you're comfortable with. I have a client that I could share this story. She told me, I want to learn how to make chile colorado, which is red chili stew. I believe that's what they say in English. And we took our time. And you know what? When her son came home, he could smell it right away. and you have to have the flour tortillas and we'll pass. So you know how that is. Yeah. So my client, she warmed that up and the son couldn't believe it. He was in shock. He was like, I can't believe that.
And part of it is because the son didn't want her doing any of that stuff because he thought she would be, she would hurt herself or burn herself. And that's the thing that we got to tell people is don't baby me. Let me do it. If I can't do it, then you can help me.
Yes. And this goes from adolescence to where Mr. Bautista is at, And what I mean by that is, I understand people want to take care of their spouse or their kids or their loved ones because they have a vision disability, but let them be independent. Because if my mother did not let me be independent, fall on my face, burn myself when I cooked, or iron, or do this, I wouldn't be where I'm at now, where I'm working for myself. We have a home. But what I'm trying to say is, and I'll give you a perfect example. And I've used this example. Mr. Bautista knows where I'm going with this. I knew a young man. But when I first met him, he was 11, 12 years old. He was totally blind. So, years go by. So one day, we're at a conference. And so I'm sitting there, and this is when I can still see. So I'm looking around, and I see him. But this time he has a little beard. Now he's 18 years old. So I'm like, wow, he's grown up. I feel old. So I started walking towards him and his mom. And I see his mom feeding him, like literally putting the spoon in his mouth. So automatically I thought he must have had a stroke or something happened to him. So I walk up to him, and talking to her, not for him to hear, I go, what happened to him? I'm not going to say his name. And she's like, why? What do you mean? I go, why are you feeding him? Oh, no, George, he's blind and he won't be able to put the spoon in his mouth. Now, mind you, 18 years old.
Yeah.
And she's still thinking that way. And I'm like, so what happens is maybe 4 or 5, 6 years later, 5 or 6 years later, I heard the mom, or heard from someone, the mom that was taking care of the son, she got diabetes, she went blind, and now what? The kid's he don't have those skills. She's blind, and that what I'm trying to say is, like Mr. Bautista said, yeah, your grandparent or your mom and dad may be blind. Let them cook. Of course, supervise them.
Yeah, and a lot of the stuff that we're doing with cooking skills, it's not really teaching them how to cook. It's just teaching them to adapt with their vision loss. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
With my client, she knew what she was doing. She just needed a little bit of guidance and a push, like you say, a gentle push.
Mr. Bautista, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. I was going to say, one of the things that in fact, I've told you about how I learned how to cook an egg without having to look for it all over the pan. It was Mr. Donacio that said, make a hole in the bread, take
the egg in a boat,
part off, and then drop the egg in there and fry it there.
So George, just right away, I'll do a quick independent living skills class, and this is the easiest thing, and it's easy for me because I teach it all the time, and I even make these for my kids. And get a toasted bread. Turn on the pan, get a toasted bread, of course, and on the table, get a glass or a cup, cut out the middle of the bread, make a hole in it. That bread, you lay it on the pan. You could put some butter or some oil on the pan, but you crack an egg in it. And with a spatula, you'll able to flip that egg and make it a sunny side down egg. So
cool.
and it tastes good. It tastes really good.
I can vouch for that.
And you know what's another thing that Mr. Bautista told me about this, and this is what I mean by just interacting with other people. And so I had a habit of knocking over my cup, and I'm talking to my wife or engaging, and I reach over to get my glass, either here at home or a restaurant or someone's house, and poof, knock it over. I'm like, oh man, it was frustrating. Kind of, what am I doing? I know I'm reaching for it. I know, but what it was is that sometimes we were conversating or we're not paying attention. You hit it. So Mr. Bautista said, "Well, George, why don't you just put your hand on the table, slide it to the glass, and then get it?" And I'm like, "Oh, duh, simple stuff like that." And now, guess what? I don't do that. But what it is that just having that conversation with people, saying, because at the end of the day, like you just said, Mr. Bautista and Mr. Donacio, like you just said, you're not showing someone how to cook, or you're not showing someone how to walk. You're just showing someone how to use a cane or how to adapt to cooking their tools. And I think that's very important. And I hope one of these days, when I get to my age, you're still around at 55, so I can start learning how to cook.
There you go.
No, not adapt. Adapt, but learn.
And this is where I rely a lot on my coworkers. And I say this in a funny story, is that I had a client who wanted me, a female client, she wanted me to help her put on makeup. And I'm like, oh man, I'm not gonna help you. I mean, honestly, I don't know how to put on makeup. And I even joke, and I still have a good relationship with this client. I told her, if I wind up helping you, I'm gonna make you look worse. But luckily, I had a coworker who has this training, independent living skills, and they went out there and they helped her, and it's something that we do, and it's just something simple, even if it's shaving, cleaning the house. Something that I really want to stress out and stress on is the white cane. It's really important. A lot of people that need it don't want to use it, or maybe they're afraid to use it or they're ashamed. But I won't know you're visually impaired until I see that white cane, especially
Yeah.
since I have vision. So what I like a lot and what brings me pride in this program is when I have a client that I taught them, we got them the training, the white cane, and they're out and about at the store, at Walmart, and somebody sees them and they're like, hey, how did you learn this? Or how did you, where did you get this white cane? Because my dad is visually impaired. And they'll tell him, call Jesus. Call him right away. He'll help you.
I hear I name a lot, Mr. Donacio. He's, that's what you want.
Yeah, and we need that. We need that.
Yeah,
the white cane.
And it's like with I particularly don't care for the cane. I mean, I just don't, because I had a guide dog, and let me tell you, there's a big, humongous difference between a guide dog and a cane. So I was a fast pacer, and I stayed that way. With a cane, I'm the slowest person in the world, but it's safe. That's the whole thing that you're trying to stress, is that you're safe, because when you use that cane, if there's an obstacle in front of you, you're gonna touch it with a cane before you touch it and fall over. So
and not only that, Mr. Bautista, but like someone like myself, that I'm vice versa. I'm slow, so I need a cane. If I had a dog, man knows I'd be falling down. But anyway, but the point is that cane, that little simple white cane, that invention that somebody made years ago, allows me to be mobile. In other words, if I want to walk around the block, let's say my wife is not here and I want to walk around the block, I could do it safely.
Well, even inside the house, George. Even inside the house, I use the cane inside the house. I mean, if I'm in a hurry to get to the computer from my bedroom, I use the cane. I mean, I move faster than trying to use my hand to.
Wait, what's funny? You're talking about that, Mr. Bautista. Real funny joke there, Mr. Donacio, or anecdote, I guess you want to call it. So when I first, my wife, this has been her home for 40 years. So when I moved in 7 years ago, there was people across the street that used to always be outside, whatever, cooking, cookouts. I don't know why the front yard, not the backyard. But anyways, so one day, and like you say, I'm a new guy. I want to show, So I went outside to throw the trash, but I didn't take my cane. I kind of knew the area. Okay. So I'm walking back to the house. I'm like, okay, where's the house? I keep walking. I'm like, okay, where is it? And I know they're outside because I could hear them. Yeah. And I'm walking, and then boom, I hit the corner of the house in my head. Boom. And I'm like, oh, I walk in laughing. And my wife's like, what's wrong? I'm like, I just hit the house with my head. And she's like, why are you laughing? I go, it's the people in the back of me probably think I'm drunk. Like, oh, mira ese borracho. That's the model.
Yeah. No. The white cane is so important, especially it helps not only themselves, but it helps others identify, if they're walking down the street. You'll be surprised. A lot of people will not run people over or walk into them when they're holding a white cane. That's it's very rare that happens. So
they can't respect you
if
you don't have that cane, and they don't know. I mean, people will when we did our training up in Cresco, I look at some of those guys and I say, man, they how do they travel? They travel without any fear. Well, they're used to that.
Burns Taylor? Do you know Mr. Burns Taylor?
Oh, yeah, God. Yeah.
That gentleman,
rest
in peace. But I remember one day I was, just so that people know, the different levels or degrees of independent. Me, white cane, I'll go short distance. So this gentleman is totally blind, okay? I have a little bit of light perception. And mind you, he graduated from USC and Texas A&M, or Texas Austin. Well, anyways, so one day I'm in his house, and he goes, hey, George, I'm going to go to the store. Do you want to go with me? I'm like, yeah, okay. So I go with him, and we're walking outside, and I'm like, hey, Burns, did you already schedule the Uber? Uber? I go, yeah. Going to the store. He goes, nah, we're walking. And I'm like, holy crap. This is like 3 blocks away. But he did it. And what I'm trying to say, folks, is that these small little things that Mr. Donacio was talking about that he could provide for you, hopefully, of course, eligibility, take advantage of it, because you're going to need it to be independent. Don't be dependent on individuals. Like Mr. Bautista, he's very independent. He cooks for himself. He does a bunch of, I do a lot of stuff for myself. But the point is, reach out to Mr. Donacio if you need assistance, or.
And George, I would definitely want to just say something, and people with eligibility, as an agency says 20/70 or worse on both eyes, or 20/200. If maybe let's just say they're 20/50, 20/60 right there, they don't meet eligibility yet. Just contact me. I could staff this with my supervisors, with my program managers. We understand that, we want to get them ahead before they fall behind. And this is where we could probably try to help them become eligible. Because we get crafty. We want to, our goal is to help people improve their quality of life and independence. So just contact us.
Before we go, Mr. Donacio, can you give that number one more time?
Yeah. So statewide number is area code 512-936-3388, and that is all. That's statewide Texas. If you know somebody in Houston, Dallas, even in El Paso, if you call that number, I want to talk to Jesus, or my mom lives in El Paso, and call that number, and definitely they'll send in me an email with all that person's information, and we'll reach out to them right away.
And can you give us your local number so that?
Yeah. So my number, I'm going to give you my cell phone number, my work cell phone number, which is the best way to get a hold of me. And Mr. Bautista knows it because I'm really never in the office. I like to be in the clients' homes a lot. So 915-526-0653. 915-526-0653.
Mr. Bell, before I forget, I forgot to ask this question earlier. So let's say someone is visually impaired, right? They've been diagnosed. They meet the eligibility regarding the visual acuity. Mm-hmm. So what happens if they need a hearing aid, or they need a wheelchair, or can the state still help them with that?
So for hearing aids, after, like you said, after they made the eligibility and everything, we would go send them and get assessed. The audiologist will have to determine if hearing aids are for them, or maybe if it's a medical issue. If it's a medical issue, then they refer them back to their primary care provider. But if it's hearing aids meets eligibility, then definitely yes, we could help out with hearing aids. Now wheelchairs and all that, we have to use what we call comparable benefits, which we would refer them to, like Volar, Center for Independent Living, okay. or look at towards their insurance and stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I don't know if you know this, Mr. Donacio. I'm sorry to put this out in public, Mr. Bautista. But Mr. Bautista was telling me yesterday that he got diagnosed with TCS. I don't know if you know that.
What?
It was TCS?
No. What is it?
Oh, yeah, he got as a terminal case of the stupids.
Oh my God! Anyways. Oh my God! Oh well.
Not really.
No.
But before we go, did you, Mr. Bautista or Mr. Donacio, want to say something?
Well, I just wanna thank Mr. Donacio for coming on to the show, and he's a great resource, has a great personality. You can talk to him, you can ask him questions, and he takes the time to answer them. To those listeners that are listening, call him. Really, if you got an aunt or an uncle or a friend, even a neighbor that you think would be able to use this services, call him, please.
And thank you. And I just want to add, even if they're under 55, if they need help, you could call me and I could refer them to our vocational rehabilitation program, which is my sister program. If maybe, if they just have a question, hey, just give me a call. I get questions all the time. Something I just want to close off in saying is, our agency is really moving progressively forward with a lot of technology, a lot of adaptation, accessibility. Right now, if something that's really new, it's called the IRA app. If you're not familiar with it, it's an app. It's iPhone based. You do have to pay for it. However, if you do go to our Texas Workforce Commission, our satellite offices, like at North Loop, I don't know if downtown has it yet, but at North Loop, the 8822 North Loop, you're actually able to use it for free. So what it is, it's an app on the phone. It connects you to an agent, a person, in other words, and that person, you use the phone. You can use it to scan a document, and they'll read it to you. At our Texas Workforce Commission offices, we have that available for people to use for free as long as they download the app.
Or Walgreens has it too.
Walgreens, the airport has it. A lot of so that's a great thing, a great app that we're using right now as well.
And you know what? Wow. I'm glad, before we leave, I'm glad you mentioned that about technology, Mr. Donacio, because as we know, the older folks are not really tech savvy. However, now that technology has advanced so much from back in the day, I mean, shoot, even 15 years, 10 years. It had advanced greatly for those who are visually blind or visually impaired or blind. Now, when I say that, folks, you know what? Can you make a distinction between being visually impaired and blind? Is there a distinction?
The definition, so it has to do with your visual acuities. Basically, you're visually impaired, you're 20 or 70 or worse, or a field restriction of 30 degrees or less on both eyes. And then legally blind, you have to be 20 over 200 on both eyes. That's what means you're legally blind.
Yeah. Visually impaired, or legally blind. Legally blind. But what I'm trying to say is that technology has gone so far is that, there's things that you might think I won't be able to do that. You never know. For example, there's and you probably know this one, Mr. Donacio. Be My Eyes.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Be My Eyes, folks, is a great app. I use it a lot when my wife is not here. Like, for example, if there's products in the shelf or in the cabinet that I take it out, what is this? And they'll tell me, it's free. And you can use it at home. And the thing is, just use those adaptive technology to make your life more independent. And Mr. Donacio, I'm going to say one thing, and I hope I don't embarrass you. Historically, folks, and those who are visually impaired or blind know what I'm talking about. Historically, DARS has been given a bad rap regarding responsiveness and, my counselor, my counselor takes forever. But I'm going to be honest with you. Everyone I've spoken to, Mr. Donacio, regarding you, either Mr. Bautista, Mike Palamad, whoever, when I mention your name, they say you're a great man, so I do appreciate that you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Sorry about the dog. Now my turn. My dog. My turn. But I do appreciate you. You helping us. What I mean by us, the people that are blind or visually impaired, be more independent, because that little thing, that little stick, may not mean a lot to whoever the sighted world, but for me, I want to share something real fast, folks. So when I was going blind, and like I said, I've always been a techie. A tech guy. I've always been since I was young. And so when I started losing my vision, I started thinking, crap, I'm going to be able to do the stuff I love, which is technology, because of whatever, my blindness. But then I remember I popped my first phone. This is 2000, when I went blind, 2011. My first smartphone. And I'm like, how am I going to use it? I can't see it. But then this came up. 4 notifications. Messages, 19 minutes ago. Focus mode. Do not disturb. That's called voiceover, folks. That little thing opened my world. Now I can use my phone for this, and now, of course, it has advanced. I can do emails, you can do whatever. But what I'm saying is, there's always something that can help you, Mr. Donacio. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, awesome,
and helping us.
And yeah, anytime, send the referrals. You have my number. Contact me. You have the statewide number. We are readily available to help you. And again, the trainings we provide. White cane, which is orientation mobility, independent living skills, which is either cooking or medication management, assistive technology skills, like you said, voiceover, training them how to use either Android or iPhone phones, or learn how to use JAWS or Zoom Text, which is software on the computer. We do diabetes education skills, get them the talking glucose meter, talking blood pressure machine. We get a skilled nurse that goes in there and trains them. And then again, low vision exams, magnifiers, devices, scanners. What we don't do, we don't pay for surgeries. Unfortunately, we don't pay for the iPhone. They actually have to purchase it themselves. And we don't pay for computers, but we do buy the software. So that's something that we do. But there's comparable benefits out there that we could get them linked up with to try to get like either a computer at a discounted rate. Yeah.
Is there that program, Mr. Donacio? It should be called
Computers for the Blind.
Yeah, that one. Is it still around?
Yeah, it's still around. Yes, it's still around.
You can get a real cheap computer through them.
Yeah, like $200 or something.
Oh yeah.
They're refurbished,
They still work. I mean, those they.
No, they work. They work great, and they have JAWS, Zoom Text. They even have a discount program sometimes where they knock off $50. I think it's, and don't quote me, but what I remember is I think it used to be like $200 for a laptop and $150 for a desktop.
Yes,
but
like
I think it got down less though. But I know they have like discount programs as well. Yeah, I know plenty of people that get those computers.
And is a staff program still around?
The STAP program, the STAP program, and there's also iCan Connect, which somebody that's blind or visually impaired. There's iCan Connect programs out there as well.
Okay. What is that one? I've heard of that one. What is that one?
So you have to be blind or visual and hearing impaired. We call it deaf blind, And what they do is they get you a lot of technology, an accessible doorbell, which with loud audible sounds. They get you a vibrating alarm clock. Instead of it ringing, it vibrates it wakes you up.
Okay.
They could also get you technology like computers, cell phones as well. So it's
wow,
I Can
okay.
Connect. Yeah.
I can connect. Oh,
Yeah,
there you go,
and
folks.
we refer you out. If you're with our program, we refer you to them right away. And you're still participating in our program, but we send referrals out as well.
Now, is it true, Mr. Bautista was telling me that if we send you 10 referrals, you give us a free pizza?
I don't know. Let me talk to my management about that.
Not really.
Don't get me in trouble, George. I mean,
Well, Mr. Donacio, I thank you, sir, so much. Because our initiative here at the No Vision Internet Radio platform is to bring this kind of information to the forefront for people to know and take advantage of it if you need it. If you need those services, why not? I mean, it's going to make your life more independent, more enjoyable, because when you don't have those tools, you're like, man, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
The world kind of closes up around you. And then, you don't have to do that. You'll be all right. You'll be all right. But thank you, Mr. Donacio.
It improves your lifestyle, that's for sure.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
The goal. That's the goal.
Oh, yeah.
That's definitely
It greatly
the goal.
does. So thank you
Once again, Mr.
friend.
Donacio.
No, nice
Thank
meeting
you
you.
very much.
Nice talking to you guys. Be safe. Be very, very careful out there. And any questions, call those numbers. And like I said, I always looking forward. And if you ever, let me know.
Oh, sorry about that. I keep pushing the wrong button. Sorry about that, Mr. Donacio. I'm sorry. That
No,
was me.
don't worry. No. If you ever want to do this again, let me know. If you need some of my management to speak, and if you have questions more thorough for the state, let us know. We're available. Definitely.
All right.
Now, is the office?
you,
One of the questions I had, I'm kind of reading my notes right now. That's why I kept hitting the wrong button. Are the offices closed or open right now?
So we are open. We are open. We're doing like a hybrid remote. Like, for example, like I go to the office, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. In reality, even before COVID, before this mess that we're all in, I was never really much in the office because I like to be out and about. But we are open. We are open. There's always somebody there to answer, either at the downtown office or at the North Loop office. We have also a satellite office in the Northeast now, I believe. Yeah, we do. So
really? Okay.
Yeah, we do. But we're open. We're open. Yes, we are. Yes, we're. A lot of the devices and stuff that I get though from my clients, it's not like we have them in our office. We order them and ship them to their home or deliver them to their home as needed.
Okay. Yeah. Of course. Yeah. That makes sense. And all right. This time I won't be so rude and keep hitting the button.
No, don't worry.
Sorry about that. And that's what I say. Folks, thank you for listening to Mr. Donacio. If you want to be part of the discussion or want to have a resource with us, you can always email us at info@novisioninternetradio.com. That's info@novisioninternetradio.com. Mr. Donacio, Mr. Bautista, thank you, and be careful, everyone.
Thank you. Be safe.
Hasta la vista, dijo George y Bautista.
Bye-bye.
Take care.